Good Friday morning. Welcome to RSBN Live. I'm Matthew Alvarez. Thanks so much for live streaming in. Last night, there wasn't a lot of news, was there? Was it kind of a slow news night? Not really. Obviously, we heard from President Trump. Many people across this country did. And even if you couldn't watch it on some other network, you could watch it right here on RSBN and a few others out there that are covering truth, evidence, and receipts. So this morning at 11 a.m., the president referred to this last night in his speech, which we'll get back to in just a second. The Department of Homeland Security will hold a press conference about the more than 250,000 illegal aliens registered to vote in just 4 states. I believe 2 of them, at least Nevada, New Jersey, and the list goes on. I believe I saw Pennsylvania in these documents. So the DHS chief, Mark Wayne Mullins, saying on X last night, election security is national security. So we're going to hear from the chief, the DHS secretary, in just a little bit, about 58 minutes or so. I think this one will start right on time, at least close enough. Meantime, let's check out a few excerpts from President Trump's speech as we're learning more and more about our election infrastructure here in the United States of America. Let's start off with clip number 1.
In light of the brand new and irrefutable information I have revealed tonight, my administration is in the process of notifying the states whose election data was compromised by the People's Republic of China and many others. We will be working closely to mitigate any harm, and we're taking swift action to ensure that sensitive voter data is better protected so we can never be bought, we can never be hacked, and we can never watch a stolen election again. Tomorrow, the Secretary of Homeland Security will hold a briefing to outline his department's recent work confirming cyber vulnerabilities in our electronic voting systems. They are bad. We're in the process of informing governors, senators, and members of Congress of potential issues in their states. If you look at voting today, it's in such bad shape in so many states, and we are committing to fix it. And we're also committing to be working with those states and local jurisdictions to help them fix and patch known technical vulnerabilities before the midterm elections. We have very important elections coming up. We want those elections to be honest. I've also ordered DHS to notify every state about non-citizens on their voter rolls and direct them to remove all ineligible voters from the lists immediately. Great damage has been done to our country. Our elections were left vulnerable to being rigged and stolen, and the trust of the American people was lost. This cannot be allowed to continue. Every American, whether you're a Republican, Democrat, Independent, or otherwise, should be able to agree that we deserve the most secure, honest, and fair election system anywhere in the world. Secure elections should be a partisan, we should be together, Democrats, Republicans, Independents, everybody. And it should not be a partisan issue. It should cause to unite us, not to divide us. This should be a cause. We should be united, not divided. But most importantly, addressing this crisis of election security demands that Congress must pass the Save America Act. How easy is that to do unless you want to cheat? The only reason you wouldn't do it is you want to cheat because your policies are so bad and your candidates are so pathetic that you can't get away or can't get elected any other way. This landmark bill requires that all voters must show photo voter ID. How simple is that? Could I have your photo, please? Photo voter ID. All voters must provide proof of citizenship. Are you a citizen of our country, please? And hopefully there will be no corrupt mail-in ballots, which if you watched California and so many other places, mail-in ballots are inherently corrupt. So you would have no mail-in ballots except for illness, disability, military deployment, or travel if you're going away on business or vacation. These reforms are urgently needed to stop the vulnerabilities that I've mentioned. To all Americans, I ask you to pick up your phone tomorrow, call your representatives in the House and Senate, and demand that they pass the Save America Act without delay. Together, we will restore faith and confidence in our country, and we will be bigger, better, and stronger than ever before. Finally, to reveal just how vulnerable our elections continue to be, we are releasing the results of a stunning investigation by the Department of Homeland Security. According to the DHS review of state voter rolls and public records, they identified approximately 278,000 non-citizens who are registered to vote in federal elections. Since Democrat states refuse to share their voter files, the real number is actually much higher than that. Yet, even this limited analysis found more than 250,000 foreigners illegally registered to vote.
So that's what this morning's DHS, the Department of Homeland Security press conference is all about, that 278,000 illegal aliens on various voter rolls, that kind of thing. So we're going to get into some of those details as I looked at some of this declassified report that President Trump talked about last night. We'll dive into some of that in just a second. Let's go to some of our awesome sponsors here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. All Family Pharmacy, as you guys see there. Being prepared can make all the difference when it comes to your family's health care. And whether you need an everyday prescription, a medication for a common illness, or simply want to keep your medication cabinet or medicine cabinet stocked, it's always better to plan ahead. And that's why we recommend All Family Pharmacy. They offer more than 400 medications, from maintenance medications and antibiotics to ivermectin, GLP-1, the therapies there with that, NAD+, and other wellness options. And what really sets them apart is their customer service. When you call, you get a real person who can actually help. And whether you're placing an order, have questions about your prescription, or need guidance through the process, their team is there for you. You can even speak with a licensed pharmacist if you have medication questions. And ordering is simple. All you do is complete a secure online medical questionnaire. One of their licensed physicians reviews your information and, if appropriate, writes your prescription. Your medication is then shipped directly to your door. So all you have to do is visit allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN and use promo code RSBN10 to save 10% on your order. Also, as I just mentioned, if you'd like to call them, 561-717-6794 is the number. If you try and call maybe another box store style of place, right, another pharmacy that's out there, most of the time you may run into a situation where you're asking about a prescription or have some questions for the pharmacist. You can't make it into the store. Maybe it's rush hour. You just have to get your answers, your questions answered. Or you're wondering if your prescription is filled, all the things. They usually have you leave a voicemail, and then you'd have to figure out when are they going to call you back, all that stuff. You can cut through all of that and call directly to All Family Pharmacy, and they will help you out with your order and any other questions you have, including, again, speaking with a pharmacist. So a great company there, allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Also, speaking of great companies, Birch Gold Group, we spoke with Philip Patrick last night here on RSBN Live, of course, as many watched the president's primetime speech. And we wouldn't be celebrating America 250 if it wasn't for a strong foundation set by our framers. Alexander Hamilton built America's financial foundation on the principle of sound, stable money, a principle later embodied by the gold standard. However, of course, we abandoned that discipline 10 years before I was born. So back in 1971, we abandoned that discipline and have since seen inflation erode the dollar's value. So what is the foundation of your savings? Is it gold or something that could be shaken, disrupted, or devalued? Birch Gold Group has been helping Americans solidify their savings with gold for the past 15 years. And they'll help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in gold. So you can learn how gold fits into your portfolio simply by texting that word, Trump, to the number 989898. You'll receive that free, no-obligation info kit. They have an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau, countless 5-star reviews. You can let Birch Gold help build your foundation with gold. All you have to do is text the word Trump to 989898 to get that started, as it's 11 minutes after the hour here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. You know, you just saw last night, the same building there at night. We were talking just less than 24 hours ago about the huge delivery of the speech, the announcement, and the details. And we're going to dive into that here, as that's the location for the Save America Act to actually pass. And then, of course, not too far from there, 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, where it would be signed into law. We don't want to bring false hope. We are just speaking about it because we know it's a very important piece of legislation for this country. Beautiful blue skies, though, this morning as it's 10:12 in the morning there in D.C. on this Friday, July 17th. So this morning, the White House says the U.S. election system is broken. Here's what the disclosures reveal. Now, we're talking about last night. President Trump gave us some examples, and we're going to go through that speech once again. We're also going to dive into the Department of Homeland Security document that's within these declassified documents about election integrity. So the White House saying on a post yesterday, hundreds of millions of American voter files in the hands of foreign governments. Voting machines and ballot counting systems exposed to hacking and manipulation. China and other adversaries actively trying to meddle in elections. Evidence of fraud being buried. Hundreds of thousands of non-citizens and dead people still active on voter rolls. No voter ID, no proof of citizenship required. Tens of millions of mail-in ballots floating unsecured. That directly from the White House, their X page. I thought if you didn't see it, I would love to share that with you. We'll go over that in just a little bit again. Now, we do have an image, I believe, of a DHS document. Now, one of the unclassified files released by the president last night is specific to this morning's DHS press conference, which we're about to see at 11 a.m. The Department of Homeland Security has initiated multiple investigations related to allegations of non-citizen voting and registration of the first set of public voter files from states that have not utilized the SAVE system revealed the following. More than 250,000 non-citizens are illegally registered to vote in just 4 states for which public data files have been reviewed. State election officials in California, our largest state in the union, in Pennsylvania, a huge swing state, in New Jersey, and in Nevada have been notified of this serious threat to national security, and DHS stands ready to support their efforts to identity and remove ineligible registrants. The investigation is expanding to include multiple additional states. In addition, DHS will support the Department of Justice's review of voter files obtained pursuant to their enforcement authority under the National Voter Registration Act of 1993 and the Help America Vote Act of 2002. So we can come back here live in the studio as we are, looking through these documents. It's something that, we hear about transparency. Well, this is a very transparent situation that we're dealing with, election integrity. And we see that in 2020, what happened there. We need to make sure that we don't have to have another 2024 in the sense of this. Only 1 point. Too big to rig. I don't want to have to see that again. I don't think the president wants to have to see that again. That we have to just get as many people out and overwhelm it in a good way. Obviously, each person voting legally, 18 and above, all the things, everything up and up, right? But the free and fair elections, at least try for the goal, right? You miss 100% of the shots you don't take, the great Wayne Gretzky said. So let's at least try on this, right? Let's at least go for it. The Save America Act, or in this case, shoring up these United States elections. No wonder, again, as I mentioned last night, no wonder the networks didn't want to cover any of this stuff. They were frothing at the mouth with Karen Levitt yesterday, saying, well, why doesn't the president just give this up? Please don't talk about truth. Don't talk about evidence. Well, he did, and a lot of people saw it. And there you go. So that's what we see now. Now, again, this DH update on election integrity at 11 a.m., we're going to hear more from the DHS chief, Mark Wayne Mullen. We're going to get back into some more details from that DHS document. We're also going to go to some more when it comes to President Trump's speech as well. I believe now is a good time for a quick commercial break. We'll be right back here on RSBN Live.
It's Silk from Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live. Look, don't forget to watch my show right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's imperative that you do so, okay? Bye-bye.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
MyPillow's second annual mega sale is finally here. Get our patented premium MyPillows that adjust your exact individual needs to give you the best sleep of your life.
When I got MyPillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
I guarantee they're going to be the most comfortable pillows you'll ever own. King size only $24.98, queen size only $19.98. Giza Dream bed sheets, the best sheets in history, as low as $29.98. Lux Pierce 6-piece towel sets, towels that actually dry you. What a concept. Now only $39.98. And our made in the USA mattresses and mattress toppers as low as $99.98. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to take advantage of our second annual mega sale. Plus free shipping options available when you order today. So don't delay, order now.
I'll be honest, watching that commercial, all the comforts. You know, think about it. Last night, it was a pretty late night. And then, you know, you get home and it takes a minute to kind of unwind after all of the news coverage. And then you wake up early and I'm looking at all that stuff. I'm like, man, it's going to be good to go back to sleep whenever that is later today. Sometimes I don't like taking naps anyway, so you just push through. And that's what they made coffee for, but I didn't have any. Anyway, mypillow.com/RSBN, great sponsor here on Right Side. As you just saw, that mega sale looks like 2.0. So just go to mypillow.com/RSBN. A lot of sales, as you just saw from the great Mike Lindell right there. A beautiful commercial here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. A conservative company too, in a way, right? I mean, it's coming from Mike Lindell, the great conservative patriot running for governor in Minnesota with this awesome company, mypillow.com. And remember, of course, use the RSBN promo code. You get a sizable amount off of these quality products. So a great sponsor there, mypillow.com/RSBN. Also, if you'd like to donate to Right Side, all you have to do is go to rsbnetwork.com/donate, rsbnetwork.com/donate. Also, specifically, if you'd like to send a check, which there are a number of people that have done this over the years and still do this. So if you'd like to, instead of, go online. I know some people are, that don't like to always use online stuff with their credit card or debit card. That's all good. So 1550 Opelika Road, Suite 6, Box 344, Auburn, Alabama 36830. So it's 1550 Opelika Road, Suite 6, Box 344, Auburn, Alabama 36830. Thank you guys for donating to Right Side, especially last night too. I heard from our director that a number of people donated to the network as we had quite the viewership numbers last night, of course, as President Trump, anytime whether it's breaking news or a huge speech, people know where to go. They like to go to Right Side Broadcasting Network. Great to see that. And, as we cover the news, we'll see how that transpires here in numbers as well. All right, so it's 10:21 Eastern time. Let's get back into the DHS document, and then we'll go to President Trump's speech in case you missed it. But, I don't think you did. But if you did, we have it for you as we get ready for the 11 o'clock press conference with the Department of Homeland Security. Again, President Trump referring to this just last night, that there is this press conference today. So we're very interested in watching that. Also, side note, I know it's Friday, it's July 17th. It's a summer weekend. Most of us, move on with our weekends and all of that, of course, and we will. But the news coverage, watch the news coverage today. Now, I'm not saying we're going to go wall to wall with this coverage all next week, but I know today we are. But it's interesting to see some of the various news coverage today. Even the Drudge Report last night, you'd think Matt Drudge and the team or whoever owns it now would at least have something big about what happened last night, and no. And I'm not going to name all the other outlets, but it was interesting to see. It's called, and I've done this before myself, when I worked in mainstream media, if I didn't write the story correctly, and it could be any kind of run-of-the-mill story, but the lead of the story is the most important. And usually the anchors would always get the best part, the lead of the information, and then the reporter goes out and fills in the blanks and interviews the people. It's called a news package. That's what, some of the lingo there, right? Well, they always said, don't bury the lead. Don't bury the lead. What if the main story was this and we didn't get to it until the end of the story? Indirectly, the mainstream media and others out there are burying the lead today. And they buried the lead last night. So much so that they didn't even cover the lead. They decided to air something else instead of the president's speech. Quite ridiculous if you ask me, and anybody, I believe, that is a common sense American on the right side of history. I just happen to have a suit on, and I'm one of you guys. That's really what this is about. A lot of times, remember, over the years in media, it's always been the anchor reporter, we are the authority, we will tell you what to think and believe. And here's what we're hearing from the Democrats. And listen and just continually repeat the same false narrative. We're on the same team here in conservative media. Forget all that stuff. All right, let's go back to that DHS document. This is what we saw on this document. This is declassified again by President Trump just last night, that states that protect federal elections. So numerous proactive, conscientious state officials have successfully utilized free services offered by the Department of Homeland Security to assist election officials in identifying non-citizens who have registered and or voted in their states. In the short time that the enhanced SAVE system has been available to states, 10 states have processed their full voter lists. As of June 22nd, 2026, a total of 25 different states processed more than 68 million registration records through the SAVE system. The Department of Homeland Security has enabled those states to identify more than 400,000 deceased registrants and more than 28,000 non-citizens who illegally registered to vote. As demonstrated by the sample data, these states are serious about ensuring that only U.S. citizens vote in U.S. elections. DHS applauds their efforts to prevent non-citizens from registering and to remove ineligible registrants who unlawfully register. Several other proactive state officials have also signed memoranda of agreement with USCIS, the SAVE system, to utilize that system and have processed portions of their state voter rolls. Now, the Department of Homeland Security, this is one of those declassified reports that President Trump's talking about, and the DHS press conference about to start in about 34 minutes from now. Continuing on, unfortunately, due to the actions of the activist Judge Sparkle Sukinen, many of the enhancements to the service of USCIS have been suspended pending appeal. As a result, U.S. citizens are at risk of having their votes diluted by ineligible alien voters. So we're hearing that there is an undeniable pattern emerging as DHS begins to unravel the horrific damage done by the open door policies of the Biden administration. Reading here from this DHS report. This is something you guys can see as well if you go to the whitehouse.gov site and look for the election integrity tab. States that have adopted alien first policies instead of America first policies have a disproportionate number of non-citizens on their voter rolls. So there's just one document of information right there. There's 4 sets of declassified portions there that you guys will see once you go to that website. All right, let's do this. Let's possibly go to a sponsor before we go to President Trump's speech from last night. This is one of those speeches that are that important to watch, again, in my opinion. And then, of course, we're getting closer to seeing the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, Mark Wayne Mullen, and then taking some questions there. So we'll follow that here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Let's go to our first sponsor in the meantime as we're approaching the bottom of the hour, All Family Pharmacy. You know, being prepared can make all the difference when it comes to your family's health care. And whether you need an everyday prescription or a medication for a common illness, or simply want to keep your medicine cabinet stocked, it's always better to plan ahead. And that's why we recommend All Family Pharmacy. They offer more than 400 medications, from maintenance medications and antibiotics to ivermectin, GLP-1 therapies, NAD+, and other wellness options. And what really sets them apart is their customer service. Because when you call, you get a real person who can actually help. Whether you're placing an order or have questions about your prescription or need guidance through the process, their team is there for you. And you can even speak with a licensed pharmacist if you have medication questions. And ordering is simple. Complete a secure online medical questionnaire. One of their licensed physicians reviews your information and, if appropriate, writes your prescription. And your medication is then shipped directly to your door. So just visit allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. At checkout, use the RSBN 10 promo code. You get that 10% off. And of course, you see that number on the bottom right of your screen, 561-717-6794, to speak with their team today. Let's go to Birch Gold Group here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. We wouldn't be celebrating America 250 if it wasn't for our strong foundation set by the framers. Alexander Hamilton built America's financial foundation on the principle of sound, stable money, a principle later embodied by the gold standard. However, of course, we abandoned that discipline in 1971 and have since seen inflation erode the dollar's value. So the question is, what really is the foundation of your savings? Is it gold or something that could be shaken, disrupted, or devalued? You know, Birch Gold Group has been helping Americans solidify their savings with gold for the past 15 years, and they'll help you convert an existing IRA or a 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in gold. So you can learn how gold fits into your portfolio by texting that word Trump to the number 989898. You'll receive that free info kit, and they have that A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau and countless 5-star reviews. So let Birch Gold help you build your foundation with gold. All you have to do to get everything started, text that word Trump to 989898. All right, it's 10:30 Eastern Time, 7:30 out there on the West Coast. Happy Friday to you. What a night that was last night. If you missed it, here it is one more time. Let's go to President Trump's national primetime address that probably more than 1 million people, at least at this point, and that number growing, saw right here on Right Side Broadcasting Network.
We begin. I'm proud to report that our country is safer, stronger, and far wealthier than it has ever been before. We are doing great. Less than 2 years ago, we inherited an economic and social disaster. After the worst inflation in 48 years, the wide open borders with millions and millions of people pouring in from all over the world, including criminals of all types, and 11,888 murders, many of whom killed more than one person. We had transgender for everybody, men and women's sports, crime ravaging our cities, and the whole world was laughing at us as a nation, but not anymore. 2 years ago, our country was dead. Now, we are the hottest country anywhere in the world. America is respected like we have never been respected before. We have more money being invested in the United States than at any time in the history of our country. More Americans are working today than ever before. This week it was announced that inflation saw the largest monthly decline in more than 6 years. Just happened. It was just given out. The media reported it, and we accept it. The best in 6 years. The tax cuts in our great, big, beautiful bill are saving hardworking families thousands and thousands of dollars, like with the provisions, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security for our great seniors, along with the interest deduction on a loan used to purchase a car, but only if that car is made in America, and a 100% expensing for our job-creating businesses. Our stock markets are at their highest point in many years, but we can actually say of all time. And your 401ks, pensions, and retirement accounts are setting records every single day, the highest in history. For years, we paid the highest price for prescription drugs anywhere in the world. Now we pay the lowest price under my most favored nation's policy, because I was able to get the rest of the world and the pharmaceutical companies to act responsibly. Drug prices are coming down by 70, 80, and 90%. TrumpRx.gov, this will ultimately reduce the cost of health care. You have to go to TrumpRx.gov and take advantage of it. But the cost of health care is coming way down because of what we've done with prescription drugs. And with Trump accounts, every child in America now has access to a tax-free investment account to save for their future. Billions and billions of dollars are being invested, put in by companies and individuals to take care of our children so that at age 18, they will have potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars in their account, and they'll get off to a great start in life. So for that, go to TrumpAccounts.gov and sign up your child or any child who'd like to sign up. Our previously wide open borders have been transformed into the most secure borders in the history of our country, with 0 illegal aliens being admitted to the United States in the past 14 months. That is 0. Nobody thought it was possible. We had the worst border in the history of our country, and now we have the best. Crime is plummeting nationwide, with the murder rate at its lowest level since 1900, or more than 125 years ago. We're making a record investment in our armed forces, and we have the strongest and most powerful military by far anywhere in the world. I built it during my first term, and unfortunately, we're forced to use it now. We won in Venezuela, which is now working with us to produce millions and millions of barrels of oil. We are likewise winning big in Iran, and you will see the fruits of that labor very, very shortly. America is back and doing really well, but we still have a major challenge that must be urgently addressed, because no country can be great without fair and honest elections. You have to trust your country, because if there can be no trust, there can be no greatness. And that's very simple. No trust, no greatness. For many years, I've called for bold, swift, and decisive action to protect the integrity of America's elections. Every American deserves to know that when they cast their vote, that vote will be counted accurately in a system, and that is to make that system secure, one where cheating and interference are not just difficult, but virtually impossible. Unfortunately, the system we have today falls catastrophically short of that standard. Tonight, I'm announcing the immediate declassification and release of critical intelligence revealing shocking vulnerabilities in our election infrastructure. This evidence shows that the election system we have dangerously exposes, and really exposes like levels never thought possible, to hacking, exploitation, and foreign interference. Just as disturbingly, this vital information has for many years been covered up and hidden from you, the American people, our beautiful, our great American people. But that all changes right now. The documents we will release starting tonight have been gathered by the White House Government Transparency Task Force, a great group of people, along with the staff of the President's Intelligence Advisory Board, supported by our top intelligence agency chiefs, who have all personally reviewed the findings. We are presenting this evening and fully confirmed their authenticity. You can see these documents for yourself at whitehouse.gov. That's whitehouse.gov. Go check it out. Our purpose in disclosing this information is not to weaken confidence in election, but to earn that confidence by confronting vulnerabilities and correcting them very, very quickly, and that's what we're doing. The documents cover 5 major areas of concern. First, they show that over a period of years, starting during the 2020 election cycle, the People's Republic of China carried out what is believed to be the largest compromise of election data.
We'll be going right back to President Trump's speech, of course. Those of you that saw it last night, thanks so much for watching. Of course, we'll get right back to the rest of his speech. We have a number of sponsors, of course, here on Right Side Broadcasting Network, including Kalshi.com/RSBN. I'm going to go to Kalshi quickly here on Right Side as we double check some of the various things that are happening on Kalshi. If I look at elections, it talks about who will be the 2028 U.S. presidential election winner. All various political trending topics you can check out there if you'd like. So go to Kalshi.com/RSBN. 3 ways to get there: the QR code, the website, the app. Let's go to our next sponsor here on Right Side Broadcasting Network, including Cove Pure, as you see right there on your screen. Now, most of us know there's chlorine in our tap water. We sometimes could smell it, maybe just shrug and drink it anyway, but because we've been told it really is what keeps our water safe. But what they don't tell you is what chlorine becomes after it's added to your water, and that's why it's so important to filter your water through Cove Pure. Chlorine itself isn't even the biggest problem, we're told. Chlorine levels in your water are regulated, but what's not regulated is chemicals that form when chlorine reacts with naturally occurring organic matter from rivers, soil, and plant matter. Now, when chlorine interacts with those particles, we're told it creates chemical byproducts called THMs. The government itself calls THMs probable human carcinogens, and they've actually been linked to disruption of your gut and also cancer. Those pitcher filters you get at the store really won't fix this. They improve the taste of chlorine, but THMs require something far more powerful, and that's exactly what that machine can do for you right there with Cove Pure. Their Clearwave reverse osmosis technology is really certified to remove up to 99.9% of contaminants. It's not just chlorine or THMs, also fluoride, PFAs, pharmaceuticals. If it isn't water, Cove Pure removes it. And this thing doesn't take up much room at all. It looks great on your countertop. You don't have to call someone in to install it. You just plug it in. And the best part about Cove Pure is it lets you choose whatever temperature water you want. So no more waiting for the kettle to boil to make a cup of tea or coffee. Just tap a button and you'll get hot, cold, or warm water instantly. And the feedback on Cove Pure from our viewers has been incredible. And people have told us that they can literally taste the difference. So clean water is one of the best investments you can make for you and your family's health. And right now, they're giving RSBN viewers $250 off if you use that link, covepure.com/RSBN. Again, covepure.com/RSBN. We're about 20 minutes away from this Department of Homeland Security press conference. We'll have that in its entirety at the top of the hour. Let's get back to President Trump's primetime speech from last night.
In history, resulting in China's illicit acquisition of 220 million U.S. voter files. That information includes names, addresses, phone numbers, political party preferences, and other sensitive data that would be needed to register to vote and engage in other nefarious activities, which is exactly what was happening. This data loss presents an unprecedented election security nightmare The intelligence even shows that China assigned a data exploitation unit specifically to this new project. Compounding the travesty, the second set of documents we are releasing reveals that members of the deep state, very, very famous group of people, in many cases, in our intelligence agency work to actively suppress and downplay information about the extent of China's sinister election meddling, covering it up from both the president and the American people like nobody thought was possible. U.S. spy agencies began learning about the compromise of voter registration files in 2020 when they discovered that tens of millions of voter data, think of that, tens of millions of voters' data in 18 states have been bought, stolen, or hacked by China. Yet those responsible for sounding the alarm instead kept the information secret and hidden. They did not disclose to me as president or to anyone else, and to the best of our knowledge, they did not inform Congress. In fact, all they kept saying is, this is the most secure election in the history of our country, a standard, very pat line that was divvied out to say. The cover-up of this colossal security breach is even more disturbing in light of the additional information showing that China engaged in other election-related activities to undermine my first administration and our 2020 campaign. They did not want, and they just didn't want it. They fought like hell not to have it, Donald Trump, to win, and for good reason. As the documents we are releasing show, CIA reporting explicitly stated, and I quote, in mid-2018, the Chinese Communist Party's policy was to leverage all domestic and foreign elements that were opposed to the U.S. president in an effort to reduce the U.S. president's votes and make him resign or prevent his re-election. Isn't that nice? Also, in mid-2018, China was working to influence the results of the U.S. midterm elections and later the results of the 2020 presidential election itself. Separately, in mid-2019, the Chinese government's strategy against the United States was focused on undermining domestic confidence in the U.S. president. They wanted to just make you sound like your president wasn't so hot, when actually your president has done a great job, and they did everything possible to do exactly that. Going on, this document says, and this is by the CIA, the strategy included efforts to use Chinese contacts with big U.S. companies to influence U.S. business leaders to turn against the President of the United States of America. The Chinese government sought to identify U.S. journalists who had reported negatively on the U.S. president and pay them large sums of money to write more negative articles about him, as many as they could, and they didn't care what they said. The Chinese government wanted U.S. president to lose the next election, and the reason they wanted me to lose is because they knew I was wise to them, charged them billions and billions of dollars worth of tariffs, and built the strongest military anywhere in the world. We have the strongest military anywhere in the world. These are exact quotes from the CIA reporting. The name of the person doing the quote is now under review, but it gets even worse. Raw intelligence obtained by the FBI in 2020, yet buried by rogue bureaucrats, stated that China's activities even included an attempt to manufacture illegal ballots for Joe Biden. Documents show that during this period, dozens of significant CIA and NSA reports about China's election targeting were kept out of the presidential briefing. These were briefings I would get almost every day. Everything was kept out that was of importance. One email among intelligence analysts admitted that they had, quote, deliberately massaged the presidential daily briefing to withhold information regarding Chinese activities related to the election. Another official inside the FBI wrote that she was running, quote, a shadow government, unquote, to keep intelligence about China's election meddling from becoming known and to keep it away from the honorable press. Other officials who witnessed such efforts perceived the motivations to be blatantly political. Recently, we found significant numbers of burn bags in formation, and this is a group of bags that were used to destroy information given by President Barack Hussein Obama to be burned. It was supposed to be burned. These bags were supposed to be at a different level by different people, incinerated and checked, but it never happened. Maybe we got lucky. We believe this was not done on purpose, but rather through gross incompetence of the people that were supposed to burn the bags. But the findings are stunning. Today, I'm asking the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, the Department of Justice, the FBI, and the CIA to investigate how and why such crucial information was hidden, to fire those involved in the cover-up, and to file criminal charges, if appropriate, against these people. Yet concealing China's meddling was only the beginning.
So we'll get back to the remainder of President Trump's speech in just a second, but if you're listening closely there, it sounds like transparency and accountability specifically within that couple sentences that we just heard from the president. Again, we'll return to that speech in just a second. We're about to go to that DHS update on election integrity at 11 a.m. This all brought to you by some great sponsors, including the following. The Free Kids Guide. You see it right there, freeusadoggift.com. Let's take a quick minute to speak to all the parents watching today. It's officially, of course, the dog days of summer. And if your house is anything like ours used to be, it means the dog sprawls out on the coolest tile floor he can find, refusing to move for anyone. It seems our dogs tend to run the house, and honestly, we wouldn't have it any other way. Well, here's a fun fact. Our founding fathers were the exact same way. Turns out long before they were founding our great nation, they were the original dog people. Tails wagging in the halls of Mount Vernon and Monticello, muddy paw prints on important documents. Our founders loved their dogs every bit as much as we love ours today. And with America's 250th birthday, what a better way to get kids excited about history than through the goofy, loyal, tail-wagging companions who were there for it all. Our friends at the Kids Guide have put together a great guide called The Kids Guide to the Founders' Furry Friends, giving kids a fun and heartwarming look at the dogs who stood and sat and probably begged for scraps beside our nation's founders. It's the perfect keepsake souvenir for kids, and they're giving it away for free at that huge site that you see right there, freeusadoggift.com. Plus, when you request your copy, they're also giving you a second free guide called The Kids Guide to the Founder's Message for Today. It's a must-read for every child. So, during these dog days of summer, head on over to freeusadoggift.com right now to get these free guides for your family and help celebrate America's 250th birthday the right way. From books to taxes. There's a lot of people that may have some back taxes out there, maybe didn't file one of the years, got just caught up in certain situations financially. Well, Tax Network USA, they bring financial peace of mind. They help you along the way to get you back on track. So that's the question. I mean, did you maybe retire and suddenly get hit with a tax bill you didn't expect? However your tax issue started, the outcome is usually the same. Your balance is just not going down. Penalties are growing, interest compounds, and people are scratching their heads wondering, what do I do next? Because we know the IRS, they're not waiting. The IRS enforces collections through wage garnishments, bank levies, property seizures. They can even file for you without your consent. And this is really where Tax Network USA comes in. With more than 15 years in business, there hasn't been a tax case they haven't seen or resolved. They specialize in tax controversies and help taxpayers nationwide get back on track by resolving back taxes and unfiled returns once and for all. So whether you owe $10,000 or $10 million, their team has resolved over $1 billion in tax debt. They can do the same for you, but you have to give them a call because they offer that free investigation call with the IRS. And after that investigation, they put a clear case plan in place to resolve your tax problem and get you back on track. So this is about using your legal rights to take control before the government sets the terms for you. So don't wait for another IRS letter or a frozen bank account. Just call 877-479-6503. Again, that's 877-479-6503, or visit tnusa.com/RSBN. Some great sponsors here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. We are about 9 minutes from the top of the hour, 9 minutes from this Department of Homeland Security press conference with the DHS Secretary Mark Wayne Mullen. As soon as we see that start, we'll take you there. In the meantime, let's go back to that national primetime address from the Commander-in-Chief.
The third set of documents we are releasing proves that for many years, Americans were blatantly lied to about the security of our election infrastructure, including electronic voting machines and ballot counting systems. Dishonest, almost all. They're vulnerable and they're easily compromised, and people within our government knew that. Tonight, we're publishing a series of previously classified U.S. intelligence community assessments and other reports proving that our government has long known these machines are extremely exposed to attack. As one assessment states, we judge that the United States adversaries, including at a minimum Russia, China, Iran, North Korea, as well as non-state groups, have the capability to compromise U.S. election infrastructure. That's unquote, but that's some statement, isn't it? Made by supposedly great patriots of our country. The document goes on to further state that, quote, we assess that centralized election-related data repositories, such as voter registration databases, poll books, and other official election websites, are most vulnerable to exploitation, and adversaries could use this access to these systems to disrupt election processes within the United States of America. Tonight, we're releasing all of those findings, and spanning from January 2020 to June 2026, this is a cyber threat aimed at the very heart of our democracy. Many people have questioned whether it could actually be possible to electronically manipulate vote totals or change election results on these terrible machines. Today, we are releasing documents that show the CIA obtained reporting of a specific plot to do a big number in favor of the corrupt Maduro regime in Venezuela. And that's exactly what happened, conspiring to digitally rig their own country's elections in 2020, and that's what they did. This reporting included precise details about methods to regime develop to digitally alter vote totals in ways that could not be detected even with an audit, no matter how deep they went. This intelligence underscores why we must take urgent action to ensure that our own system can never, ever be hacked or compromised like it was in the past. The fourth set of documents reveals that even when significant evidence of fraud has been detected, it has been buried and covered up. Among the disclosures tonight are FBI files detailing evidence of alleged fraud by a large-scale voter registration operation in Michigan. In 2020, Michigan State Police raided a Democrat Get Out the Vote organization, corrupt group in Muskegon. And we're so concerned by what they found. They were just so concerned, they couldn't believe it, actually, that they contacted the FBI in Detroit. The documents state that some canvassers admitted to FBI agents that they signed voter registration forms in other people's names, submitted fraudulent registration for people who did not exist, and received gift cards tied to their number of applications that they produced. In other words, it was pay, play, and cheat. The FBI agents working on the case believe that crimes were committed, yet the Biden Department of Justice slow-walked the investigation and killed it. Tonight, I'm asking the FBI director to ensure that the matter is fully investigated and to work with the Department of Justice to prosecute those responsible for any crimes. Finally, to reveal just how vulnerable our elections continue to be, we are releasing the results of a stunning investigation by the Department of Homeland Security. According to the DHS review of state voter rolls and public records, they identified approximately 278,000 non-citizens who are registered to vote in federal elections. Since Democrat states refuse to share their voter files, the real number is actually much higher than that. Yet, even this limited analysis found more than 250,000 foreigners illegally registered to vote. Put together, these disclosures reveal an election system so broken and so vulnerable that no one can possibly defend it. It is not defensible. Hundreds of millions of U.S. voter files are in the hands of foreign governments. Our machines and ballot counting systems are exposed to hacking and manipulation and corruption. China and other countries have been trying to meddle in our elections. Evidence of fraud has been buried. Hundreds of thousands of non-citizens and dead people are listed and active on the voter rolls, and yet we still have elections with no voter ID, no proof of citizenship, and tens of millions of ballots floating aimlessly through the mail. As one example of the insanity, California's recent election for mayor of LA and governor was held on June 2nd, a long time ago, but it was just completed a few days ago on July 10th. Think of that, much more than 1 month. Took a month to count the votes. I wonder what they were doing. This is worse than any third world country. There's no third world country that has elections like we have. In a rare move, NBC and ABC Fake News have both said that they would not cover this speech. They knew what it was about because of the fact that they don't like the topic, because they know how corrupt our system is and they don't want to reveal it. They and others in the media are part of a plot. They want to continue this fraud for whatever reason. They want to keep it going. They want to protect the radical left. They can't have a great country, and that's true. You can't have a great country without free and fair elections. Fraud like this should mean a revocation of their licenses. They use our public multi-billion-dollar in value airways for absolutely no money. They pay nothing. All we want is honesty in our elections and honesty in reporting. They pay nothing for multi-billion-dollar assets. Great damage has been done to our country. Our elections were left vulnerable to being rigged and stolen, and the trust of the American people was lost. This cannot be allowed to continue. Every American, whether you're a Republican, Democrat, Independent, or otherwise, should be able to agree that we deserve the most secure, honest, and fair election system anywhere in the world. Secure elections should be a partisan, we should be together. Democrats, Republicans, Independents, everybody. And it should not be a partisan issue. It should cause to unite us, not to divide us. This should be a cause. We should be united, not divided. In light of the brand new and irrefutable information I have revealed tonight, my administration is in the process of notifying the states whose election data was compromised by the People's Republic of China and many others. We will be working closely to mitigate any harm, and we're taking swift action to ensure that sensitive voter data is better protected so we can never be bought, we can never be hacked, and we can never watch a stolen election again. Tomorrow, the Secretary of Homeland Security will hold a briefing to outline his department's recent work confirming cyber vulnerabilities in our electronic voting systems. They are bad. We're in the process of informing governors, senators, and members of Congress of potential issues in their states. If you look at voting today, it's in such bad shape in so many states, and we are committing to fix it. And we're also committing to be working with those states and local jurisdictions to help them fix and patch known technical vulnerabilities before the midterm elections. We have very important elections coming up. We want those elections to be honest. I've also ordered DHS to notify every state about non-citizens on their voter rolls and direct them to remove all ineligible voters from the lists immediately. But most importantly, addressing this crisis of election security demands that Congress must pass the Save America Act. How easy is that to do unless you want to cheat? The only reason you wouldn't do it is you want to cheat because your policies are so bad and your candidates are so pathetic that you can't get away or can't get elected any other way. This landmark bill requires that all voters must show photo voter ID. How simple is that? Could I have your photo, please? Photo voter ID. All voters must provide proof of citizenship. Are you a citizen of our country, please? And hopefully there will be no corrupt mail-in ballots, which if you watched California and so many other places, mail-in ballots are inherently corrupt. So you would have no mail-in ballots except for illness, disability, military deployment, or travel if you're going away on business or vacation. These reforms are urgently needed to stop the vulnerabilities that I've mentioned. To all Americans, I ask you to pick up your phone tomorrow, call your representatives in the House and Senate, and demand that they pass the Save America Act without delay. Together, we will restore faith and confidence in our country, and we will be bigger, better, and stronger than ever before. Thank you. God bless you. God bless our great military. And God bless America. Thank you very much.
So we've played the speech twice. We saw it live last night. We just saw it now. And some of the networks didn't play it at all. We saw what happened there. Awful to see that. Let's go to some sponsors. We'll get into the DHS press conference as soon as we see it pop up here at our headquarters in Alabama. Meantime, All Family Pharmacy, one of our great sponsors on Right Side. Being prepared can make all the difference when it comes to your family's health care. Whether you need an everyday prescription, medication for a common illness, or simply want to keep your medicine cabinet stocked, it's always better to plan ahead, and that's why we recommend All Family Pharmacy. They offer more than 400 medications, from maintenance medications and antibiotics to ivermectin, GLP-1 therapies, NAD+, and other wellness options. And what really sets them apart is their customer service, because when you call it, you get a real person who can actually help. So whether you're placing an order, have questions about your prescription, or need guidance through the process, their team is there for you. You can even speak with a licensed pharmacist if you have medication questions. And ordering is simple. You just complete a secure online medical questionnaire. One of their licensed physicians reviews your information and, if appropriate, writes your prescription. Your medication is then shipped directly to your door. So just visit allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN at checkout. Again, RSBN 10 for 10% off. That number you see there on the bottom of your screen, 561-717-6794. allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Birch Gold Group, we would be celebrating America 250. Really, we wouldn't be celebrating it at all if it wasn't for a strong foundation, of course, set by the framers. Alexander Hamilton built America's financial foundation on the principle of sound, stable money, a principle later embodied by the gold standard. However, we abandoned that discipline in 1971, and I'm hearing we may have to go to the DHS press conference. It's about to start here. We'll get back into Birch Gold in just a little bit after the DHS press conference. Again, the president last night speaking for about 20 minutes or so. There's the picture of the Department of Homeland Security podium in the sense of hearing from the Secretary, Mark Wayne Mullen, here in just a little bit. This is a press conference about the more than 250,000 illegal aliens registered to vote in just 4 states. So the DHS chief, Mark Wayne Mullen, saying on X last night that election security is national security. Let's go there now.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. You know, President Trump is correct when he said that election security is national security. And one of the greatest privileges I have is being Secretary of the Department of Homeland, and part of that is that we secure our elections. It surprised me when we first started getting in and digging into the elections, and this isn't about rehashing the 2020 election. This is just exposing what took place and to make sure it never happens again. And there's some really easy steps that can be taken to secure our elections. And it shouldn't be a partisan issue. This should be something that every American, regardless if you're a Republican, you're a Democrat, you're an independent, you're a libertarian, regardless if you live in a blue state or you live in a red state, everybody should know that their vote counts. And we have individuals that are voting that shouldn't be. It cancels out someone that should be. So I want to go through some things in a little bit more depth than what we were able to expose last night, because President Trump, he hit the highlights, and those should be scary for everybody. What we're going to do is dig in just a little bit deeper, and then we'll take some of your questions. So first of all, Department of Homeland Security, we've identified 250,000 non-citizens registered to vote in just 4 states. Mind you, we have 46 other states. And just 4 states, we've identified 250,000 non-citizens registered to vote in California, and Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Nevada. We also worked with proactive states to identify 28,000 non-citizens on their voter rolls, plus 400,000 individuals that are still registered to vote that are deceased. Now, these 23 states, they proactively worked with us on the SAVE program. That's Georgia, Ohio, Tennessee, Texas, North Carolina, Idaho, Alabama, Missouri, Louisiana, Kansas, Arkansas, Wyoming, Montana, Iowa, Florida, South Dakota, Indiana, Arizona, South Carolina, Utah, Nebraska, Michigan, and my great home state of Oklahoma. What's interesting to me is we're getting pushback from activist judges that are saying that, hold on, the SAVE Act or the SAVE program, they are trying to put a stop to. Currently, because of the SAVE program, we have a pending appeal because activist judges are saying what? They don't want to secure our elections? Once again, how is this a partisan issue? This shouldn't be a partisan issue. This should be that any judge and any God-fearing individual that loves this country should want to make sure that our elections are secure. And we have created inside DHS the SAVE program that allows states to proactively look at their rolls. And so when you have 278,000 individuals that are non-citizens registered to vote, plus 400,000 that have already been identified just in 23 states, what can we find? We have all 50 participating with us. We know, talking about our machines, we know for sure that our foreign adversaries, not our allies, foreign adversaries have parts that are vital pieces in our voting machines. We know that they can access what they consider the key to the back of these machines. We know that they can change voter registration and your vote. We know it's possible. There's not a question. It's not even for debate. One thing that I love about numbers and I love about facts is they don't lie. This isn't something that I'm trying to tell you to spin a narrative. This is what is going on. And what we are saying is that every state should partner with us to work to secure this. Once we identify the problem, everybody should be informed. Working with Secretary Lutnick, we are going to make our security enhancements mandatory, meaning that if these states want a grant and they want to be reimbursed to work or to run federal elections, they're going to have to implement security issues. Just security issues. We're not trying to get into anything else, but we're saying that the machines have to be secured and that your voter registration list needs to be scrubbed. We need to make sure that individuals that are legally able to vote are voting. We know that Iran hacked our state voter files and attempted to compromise, is the best word I can use, our systems where military members used to vote. So we're working with Secretary Hegseth and the DOW to safeguard those systems and protect our military voters. What's frustrating again in this is that the Biden administration knew this. And our intel community knew this. And not only did they withhold it from President Trump in his first term, but they withheld it, it looks like, President Biden in his term. They withheld this information from the public. They withheld it from Congress. That should never happen again, and because of President Trump's leadership, we're not allowing that to happen. We're telling the American people not to scare them, but to ensure them that we are watching it. We're taking it serious. We will secure our elections. Underneath President Trump's directive, he has gave Department of Homeland Security and myself the tools and the resources we need to secure the elections. But we have to have the states partner with us. If they choose not to, then the voters should hold them accountable. When I was sworn in just over 100 days ago by President Trump, and I can tell you honestly, I haven't quit smiling. I think this is the greatest job that I could possibly have. I said at that time that I'm going to fight for your yard and your backyard like I do mine, regardless if it's a blue state or it's a red state. Department of Homeland Security isn't just keeping you safe on your streets, but we're keeping our voters safe and our elections safe. But we can only do that if we have full participation. Right now, as I said, we only have 23 states participating with us. Out of just 4 blue states, to repeat that number, we found 250,000 non-citizens registered to vote. So for us, we're going to take proactive and reactive measures. At President Trump's direction, our cybersecurity team in CISA will release an updated election infrastructure plan, and it'll be public within 30 days, meaning that will give the states the resources they need to help from the cyber side. From us, if they participate in the SAVE program, we'll provide the resources and training to support state election integrity. We're not trying to change the outcome. We're trying to make sure that American people can trust our voting system. Real ID does not prove citizenship and does not give you the right to vote. You must be a U.S. citizen and you must be eligible to vote. Before and after the election, we will scrub all election records looking for illegal aliens and those who are ineligible to vote, including those that somehow voted, yet they were deceased. If you're illegal and attempted to vote, or you tried to vote illegally for someone else, we will find you and we will charge you. Illegal voter registration and illegal voting both carry penalties up to 5 years in prison and up to $250,000 in fines. We will pursue maximum pressure on this. To let you know, we will be proactively looking at early voting, and then after post-election, we will continue to scrub all those that did vote. Those states that don't participate with us, they have public records of those that voted, which is where we found the 250,000 from the 4 states that don't participate with us. We will go through those records one by one, and we will pursue everybody. We will make sure that people know they can trust our elections. If states want the grant funding, to recap, they must secure the elections. I want to thank President Trump's proactive approach to this. He has put together a remarkable team that not only is informing the public about what's going on, but we're also informing Congress, we're informing our states, and we're going to secure our elections. States must be aware of the real threats for voter registration and the system breaches. And I do want to reemphasize the system breaches. Our machines are vulnerable. There are steps that can be made right now that can secure those. I would ask not just the public, but the media. That question should be asked of blue states, because we have red states participating with us. We have some red states that aren't. Every state that's not participating with us should be asked the hard question, why not? What are you afraid of? If they're not willing to do it, it should raise serious questions. It's not that hard. This isn't a partisan issue. So in conclusion, to recap, under President Trump's leadership, DHS is well prepared to support all states, red states, blue states, and local election officials ahead of the midterms. States must do their part to secure our election system, and we stand by to help. If you are an illegal or you're voting illegally, we will hunt you down, we will find you, and we will prosecute you. The American people must have confidence in our elections. Election security is not a partisan issue, and Homeland Security, we're here to support everybody. The American people, the states, even the media, to get access and the information they need to hold the states accountable. So with that, I'll open up for questions. Yes, ma'am. I think I like the Daily Caller better than the Daily Mail. I really don't like the Daily Mail. Yeah. First of all, great question. Thank you. When we start talking about can we ensure that the midterm elections are going to be secure? Yes, we absolutely can build confidence in the American people, but the states have to do their part. I will tell you, if the states that choose not to participate with the SAVE program and they choose not to participate in securing the elections, we will make sure that we make those states a priority to look at who voted in their states and hold then the election officials accountable. If the election officials, once we gave them the information they need to secure their elections, and they chose not to, then those individuals can also be held accountable by fines, by penalties, and even, depending on how far it goes, prison time. Let me get the follow-up question, and I'll get to you guys. Hold on one second. Yes. There's no question the intelligence community from the FBI, CIA, and even other places within DHS, not underneath President Trump's leadership, but that was underneath the Biden administration, kept it from President Trump and the American people in Congress. We are currently going through those lists. We will hold each one of them accountable. Some people aren't here. Some people are no longer in the agencies. Those that are, we will be held accountable. Those that abused their role in this will definitely be held accountable, because there is no excuse. If you purposely disobeyed the law, and you purposely went around statute, then you have an accountability. You have a legal reason to be held accountable. Yes, sir. Yeah. Sir, I have not heard that at all, but we understand that it's being investigated, and we'll allow the investigation to go through. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Secretary.
Yes.
Hi, thank you so much.
Yes.
Eric Pastor,
I got back here in the back.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Eric Pastor, Homeland LTV. Thank you so much for doing this briefing today. Is there any analysis on what went wrong with SciSci in 2020 and the premature analysis that it was the most safe and secure election? It's now being revealed that obviously it was not. Will Chris Krebs or anybody that was involved in that premature analysis be held accountable?
Everybody that purposely misled the American people, abused their power and their authority, and decided not to continue doing their job will be held accountable. What does that accountability look like? I don't know. Is it criminal? We'll pursue criminal charges. If it is not criminal, we'll make sure you never work for the federal government again and you never have the ability to have a clearance again. Yes, right here. I will look this way next, I promise.
Some of your numbers with 278,000 non-citizens going voter rolls, any indication of how many people actually voted, or the 400,000 that are actually deceased, any indication, total number of people that did vote, and what is your ballpark for how many of these people actually voted in terms of vote?
So those that we've identified, the 278,000 non-citizens and the 400,000 deceased, we are now going through that record. We're standing up a department in DHS. Heather Honey, who is doing a great job exposing all this and working with the team together. Joe Edlow with USCIS and other teams. We are going through these files one by one. And one, identifying the individual. Two, did they vote? And three, where did they vote at? That's a hard, it's easy with states that participate. So the 28,000 that we identified with the 23 states that are working with us, that system can be very easily exposed, all 28,000. The problem is an activist judges now have put a hold on it, and so we're pending the case. Once it's turned back on, we'll be able to move fast. The 400,000 or the 250,000 in the just four of the blue states. Meaning, what were the states? So I got it right. California, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Nevada. Those are going to be a little bit tougher because we're going to file paperwork for FOIA, even us, to try to get that information from the states. But we will. I don't care how long it takes. We will go by this one by one, and everybody that did vote illegally, we will prosecute. We'll bring up for prosecution. Yes. By the way, it's very smart wearing a red dress because you catch everybody's eyes with the bright clothes. Same thing with what color shirt is that? Peach? Orange? I don't think that's orange. That's peach. That's definitely peach.
My first question for you is, given that left-wing lawmakers and CEOs already suggested that the president's entire speech last night is discredited, it seems like the blue states will not participate in your efforts. So how do you plan to respond to that? I mean, my second question, on the traffic stops, did the president know about that decision before he made it, and what we did for him?
Yeah, so let's talk about the major networks not willing to carry the President of the United States address to the nation on election security. How shameful is that? I think it was ABC, NBC, and I don't know if CBS. Did CBS carry it? Anybody? CBS carried it. So ABC and NBC not carrying that? Why? What are they trying to cover up? Why wouldn't they want to inform the American people? Why are they calling themselves a news outlet if they're not actually trying to put the news out there? We wasn't giving spin on the election. The president wasn't trying to relitigate what happened in 2020, although he definitely could at this point. The president was giving facts, what we have exposed, what the Biden administration covered up, what the intelligence community held from the American people, Congress, and the executive branch, and we're putting it out there. And yet, 2 major networks didn't want to cover it. I think the question really should say why. Because they sure covered the other part of it when they were saying that it was the most secure election ever. What facts did they have? Because they didn't have facts. They were taking someone's word for it. President Trump gave facts. Today we're giving facts. When you start talking about the president and I are very close. I was texting with him this morning. He and I are there's no daylight between us and the enforcement. And in fact, we have ramped up our enforcement and our arresting illegals. Just to give you some numbers on this so everybody knows, and I want to get them correct, so I brought them with me. Last year total in 2025, we deported, now these are not including self-deportations. These are just ones that we had to go through, we had to arrest, we had to go through the system, and we had to deport, and they tried to stay inside the country and they had no legal status to do it. 442,637 total deported last year in 25. To date, well, these are yesterday's numbers. We have 403,294 that we've done in 2026. Our arrests are up. We're hitting single-day records every single day. But what we've done is I've turned down the temperature of the stove to try to get it correct without boiling over. We're trying to perfect our ability to work with local law enforcement, state law enforcement, and get illegals and criminals off our streets. 70% of the arrests we do daily are felons or have pending felony charges. 70%. We should all be able to work together with that. Total removals is 3 million. Total removals, 3 million. 1.4 total aliens have been, since we've been put in place, have either volunteered to be deported, yet we paid for them, or we forced them. But as I said, total removals have said, hey, we're leaving the country and did it on themselves was over 3 million. Yes. I'm sorry, who did you say you were? Well, thank you for covering it last night.
Absolutely. I want to ask about foreign interference in our elections, but just first, since you mentioned turning down the temperature, what assurances can you give Americans that ICE officers will face consequences if they violated DHS's use of force policy? And who will make that determination? And can you commit now to making that determination public?
Let me clarify. When I say turn down the temperature, when I turn down the temperature with you guys, we're turning up the heat on the streets. We're out there working harder than we ever have because we've empowered our law enforcement to do their job. What I'm trying to do is remove us from the headlines every single day. But everybody will be held accountable. I don't pick and choose which laws I'm going to enforce. I enforce our nation's laws. That means I'll enforce it with our own agency, and I'll enforce it with the criminals on the streets. That's my assurance. Yes. Go ahead. And I saw you stand up. I'll get to you next. Go ahead. Yeah. So when we start talking about enforcing, first of all, the states to work with us and then the scope moving forward, I obviously can't force the states, but the states always look to us for reimbursement when it comes to helping with the elections. It's expensive to put on an election. I mean, think about every precinct in every county and then statewide. We are not going to spend taxpayer dollars reimbursing a state that is refusing to secure their elections. And we're not saying do it alone. We're saying we're going to help you. We're going to give you the tools to need it. We're going to give you the training to need it. We're going to give you the funding to do it. We're going to expose the vulnerabilities, and all you have to do is use that information and the finances and the training we're going to give you to secure it. If you do it, we'll reimburse you. If you don't, we won't. Last question. Hold on, I'm getting the guy right there in the back.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Neil W. McCabe, No America's Voice. What are your former
Are they going to move to House Majority Leader John Thune if he refuses to pass the Save America Act or can't figure out how to pass the Save America Act?
I haven't heard that at all from the Senate saying they're willing to vote John out. John is a good friend of mine. He's a good friend of most people in there. Now, there's a difference of opinion. I think the SAVE Act should be passed tomorrow. I think it should have already been passed. There's no excuse for it not being passed. However, he has a vote problem. There's a number. Leader Thune supports the SAVE Act. He voted for the SAVE Act when it came up during the vote of Rama. Except everybody controls their own card. And even, I think the last time the vote came up, there was 49 that voted. Even if we did away with the filibuster, it still requires 51. So I know Leader Thune is working hard on that, but he's got a very, very difficult task ahead. Let me just get it. I'm sorry. I told this guy with a paper I'd get to him, and then this is the last question. I have to go. I'm so sorry. Yes. Why any investigation that is going through, I don't care which law enforcement, I don't care if you're local PD, if you're county, if you're state, or if you're federal. When there's a shooting involved, standard practice is that individual goes on administrative leave while the investigation is going through. And we do it the same way. So thank you guys so much. Appreciate it.
All right, so the DHS there with the Secretary Mark Wayne Mullen speaking about President Trump's statement last night, of course, the speech, all about election integrity and all of the illegal aliens on voter rolls and what's being done to clean that all up. So great to see that here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Let's go to a couple of our sponsors in the meantime. Let's go specifically to All Family Pharmacy. You know, being prepared, of course, can make all the difference when it comes to your family's health care. Because whether you need an everyday prescription or a medication for a common illness or simply want to keep your medicine cabinet stocked, it's always better to plan ahead. That's why we recommend All Family Pharmacy. They offer more than 400 medications, from maintenance medications and antibiotics to ivermectin, GLP-1 therapies, NAD+, and other wellness options. What really sets them apart is their customer service, because when you call, you actually get a real person who can help. Whether you're placing an order, have questions about your prescription, or need guidance through the process, their team is there for you. You can even speak with a licensed pharmacist if you have medication questions. Ordering is simple. Complete a secure online medical questionnaire. One of their licensed physicians reviews your information and then, if appropriate, writes your prescription. Your medication is then shipped directly to your door. So just go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. RSBN10 is the promo code. You can get 10% off at checkout, and there's that number there, 561-717-6794. From All Family Pharmacy, let's go to Birch Gold Group. We wouldn't be celebrating America 250 if it wasn't for a strong foundation set by our framers. You know, Alexander Hamilton built America's financial foundation on the principle of sound, stable money, a principle later embodied by the gold standard. However, we abandoned that discipline in 1971 and have since seen inflation erode the dollar's value. So the question is, what is the foundation of your savings? Is it gold or something that could be shaken, disrupted, or devalued? Birch Gold Group has been helping Americans solidify their savings with gold for the past 15 years, and they'll help you convert an existing IRA or a 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in gold. Learn how gold fits into your portfolio by texting the word Trump to the number 989898. Receive a free, no-obligation info kit. And with an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau and countless 5-star reviews, let Birch Gold help you build your foundation with gold. Text the word Trump to the number 989898. Again, text Trump to 989898. As we are live here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Thanks so much for watching yesterday's speech. A lot of people watching that live or on replay yesterday. Great to see that. And of course, earlier in the day yesterday, some good numbers as well, as the White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt held her first press conference back since she's returned from maternity leave. So it was great to see that. And if you remember, the reporters there asking all the questions about, you know, can Trump basically get over this with the whole election integrity thing? You can tell who's fake news and who's on the right side of history just by the content of the questions. Anyway, so this morning, a statement from the White House reads, quote, "For years, fake news and other bad actors tried to convince you that we had safe and secure elections when that clearly wasn't reality. America must continue to fight for honest elections and properly functioning voting systems. Our nation depends on it." So the White House also yesterday saying the U.S. election system is broken. Here's what the disclosure reveals. Okay, so we're going to go over just quickly a couple bullet points here of the speech from last night. And this is specifically the Homeland Security document as well. The White House saying hundreds of millions of American voter files in the hands of foreign governments. Voting machines and ballot counting systems exposed to hacking and manipulation. China and other adversaries actively trying to meddle in elections. Evidence of fraud being buried. Hundreds of thousands of non-citizens and dead people still active on voter rolls. No voter ID, no proof of citizenship required. Tens of millions of mail-in ballots floating unsecured. So we see the problem, and usually when there's a problem, what's the solution? And so we see that there's some accountability going to be looked at heavily, and also the Department of Homeland Security on the job as well. All right, so it's 11:37, Friday, July 17th. Let's take a quick commercial break. I'm Matthew Alvarez. Thanks for watching on this Friday. We'll be right back.
It's Silk from Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live. Look, don't forget to watch my show right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's imperative that you do so, okay? Bye-bye.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
MyPillow's second annual mega sale is finally here. Get our patented premium MyPillows that adjust your exact individual needs to give you the best sleep of your life.
When I got my pillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
I guarantee they're going to be the most comfortable pillows you'll ever own. King size only $24.98, queen size only $19.98. Giza Dream bed sheets, the best sheets in history, as low as $29.98. Lux Pierce 6-piece towel sets, towels that actually dry you. What a concept. Now only $39.98. And our made in the USA mattresses and mattress toppers as low as $99.98. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to take advantage of our second annual mega sale. Plus free shipping options available when you order today. So don't delay, order now.
Welcome back to Right Side Broadcasting Network. Thanks so much for live streaming in on this Friday at 11:40 Eastern Time. A little hazy, hot, humid. Of course, summertime there in Washington, D.C. Let's go to Kalshi.com/RSBN. In the meantime, of course, a lot of political trending topics on Kalshi. And there's going to be a lot more coming up, of course. We are less than 4 months from the midterm election, November 3rd. And then, of course, September 9th and 10th is that midterm national convention as well. So a lot coming up just in the world of news, especially politics and elections. And there's a lot of places that you guys can check right there on Kalshi when it comes to topics. And if you feel like taking a slight break from politics, no big deal. It's all good. There's a bunch of topics there: sports, weather, faith, science, technology, all the things. Kalshi.com/RSBN. Let's also go to our next sponsor here on Right Side, Cove Pure, because most of us know there's chlorine in our tap water. You know, sometimes we can smell it. You know, you shrug and you just drink it anyway, because we've been told it's what keeps our water safe. But what they don't tell you is what chlorine becomes after it's added to your water. And that's why it's so important to filter your water through Cove Pure. Chlorine itself, sorry about that, you got a phone number, I thought I had that on silent. Chlorine itself isn't even the biggest problem. Chlorine levels in your water are regulated, but what's not regulated is chemicals that form when chlorine reacts with naturally occurring organic matter from rivers, soil, and plant matter. When chlorine interacts with those particles, it creates chemical byproducts called THMs. So the government itself calls THMs probable human carcinogens, and they've been linked to disruption of your gut and also to cancer. So those pitcher filters you get at the store won't fix this because they improve the taste of chlorine, but these THMs require something far more powerful. And that's exactly what Cove Pure is. Their Clearwave reverse osmosis technology is certified to remove up to 99.9% of contaminants. So it's not just chlorine or THMs, fluoride, PFAs, pharmaceuticals. If it isn't water, Cove Pure removes it. And this thing doesn't take up much room at all. Just look at it on screen there. Nice looking product. Also doing great work, giving us much better water. You don't have to, call someone in to install it or anything like that. You just plug it in. And the best part about Cove Pure is it lets you choose whatever temperature water you want. No more waiting for the kettle to boil to make a cup of tea or coffee. Just tap a button and you get hot, cold, or warm water instantly. Now the feedback on Cove Pure from our viewers has been incredible. And people have told us that they can literally taste the difference. Clean water is one of the best investments you can make for you and your family's health. And right now they're giving RSBN viewers $250 off if you use our link. So go to covepure.com/RSBN. Drink pure, live pure, covepure.com/RSBN. Great product right there when it comes to healthy, clean tasting water instead of that tap water aftertaste and all the junk that's in there. It's a great product. 11:43, Friday, July 17th. Thanks so much for joining us here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. We're getting a few interviews lined up for you as we are continuing our coverage here on this Friday. We just saw the Department of Homeland Security Chief, the Secretary Mark Wayne Mullen, take some questions there. And of course, we saw that the Department of Homeland Security has initiated multiple investigations related to allegations of non-citizen voting and registration. Of the first set of public voter files from states that have not utilized this SAVE system, so we're hearing again that more than 250,000 non-citizens are illegally registered to vote in just 4 states. So state election officials in California, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Nevada have been notified of this serious threat to national security, and DHS stands ready to support their efforts to identify and remove ineligible registrants. So that is, in the media, we call it, of course, the nuts and bolts of the story, right? So what's the reaction? What is from the cause to the effect? We see the problem, what's the solution? It's the transparency, it's the accountability, it's correcting the U.S. infrastructure when it comes to our elections. Mike Lindell has been talking about the machines for a long time. We see our government, President Trump, talking about the machines last night, and all of the evidence and receipts that we've seen. So we're not afraid to talk about that. And some in the mainstream media are. They don't want to go there. And again, as I said last night, I think it's a great point. I don't know. Maybe I'm the only one that thinks it's a great point. But here's what it is. If President Trump was lying last night and there's no evidence and receipts and he's just saying these things without any evidence or facts or truth, well, as a news organization, wouldn't you think that you'd want to cover the President of the United States going up there in front of the American people and in the world in some cases with these claims and this evidence, and you wouldn't want to air that? Because you've been saying he's been lying for so long, so why not just cover this last night and investigate the actual evidence and look at it? But they can't do that. They don't want to do that. They omitted the story. They, as I mentioned earlier, they didn't bury the lead. They didn't even cover the story. It's really, and here's what I'd like to say in closing on that. Those networks that didn't air it and the networks that did air a bit of President Trump's speech, but then at the last second, or when President Trump started talking about something they disagreed with, and they pulled back and they started saying, well, we don't, there's no verified claim, whatever. The mainstream media, whether it's online publications, whether it's social media, whether it's any kind of newspaper, all the stuff, anybody that's not on the side of God, family, country, and we the people, right? The common sense Americans, if the media is not for them, for us, which I know I'm rambling here, I'm tired as all get out from last night, to be honest with you. It just shows that I believe all of them are fake news, even though some even covered the story, even, that kind of thing. It's just a mass swath of fake news. So conservative media, again, as I mentioned last night, we have a lot of options within conservative media, whether live streaming right here on Rumble, on YouTube, on X, on Truth Social, and a number of great citizen journalists out there as well, and just podcasts and on and on and on. Great to see it. All right, meantime, it's 11:47. We're going to be seeing President Trump. I believe he'll be doing a trip to Georgia coming up. I believe it's next week, next Wednesday, Marietta, Georgia, just outside of Atlanta. And I believe we may be going to that speech as well. So looking forward to that coverage. And then we get ready to see anything else that's on that White House press schedule. Let's go to a couple more sponsors here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. As we're 13 minutes from the top of the hour, let's go to the free USA dog gift, I believe. I want to take a minute to speak to all the parents watching today. It's officially the dog days of summer, and if your house is anything like ours used to be, that means the dog sprawls out on the coolest tile floor he can find, refusing to move for anyone. It seems our dogs tend to run the house, and honestly, we wouldn't have it any other way. Or would we? Anyway, well, here's a fun fact. Our founding fathers were the exact same way. Turns out long before they were founding a nation, they were the original or the OG dog people. Tails wagging in the halls of Mount Vernon and Monticello, muddy paw prints on important documents. Our founders loved their dogs every bit as much as we love ours today. And with America's 250th birthday, what better way to get kids excited about the history of our country than through the goofy, loyal, tail-wagging companions who were there for it all. Our friends at the Kids Guide have put together a great guide called The Kids Guide to the Founders' Furry Friends, giving kids a fun and heartwarming look at the dogs who stood and sat and probably begged for scraps beside our nation's founders. It's really the perfect keepsake souvenir for kids, and they're giving it away for free at freeusadoggift.com. Plus, when you request your copy, they're also giving you a second free guide called The Kids Guide to the Founder's Message for Today, a must-read for every child. So during these dog days of summer, head on over to freeusadoggift.com to get these free guides for your family and help celebrate America's 250th birthday the right way. Let's go to our next sponsor here on Right Side Broadcasting Network, Tax Network USA. Obviously, if you miss a year, with some taxes, you have some back taxes you got to take care of. This is the group that will help you get to where you need to go. A great thing that they have offered is a call with the IRS. We'll get into some of those specifics in a second. But however your tax issue started, the outcome is the same. Your balance is not going down, penalties growing, interest compounds. And a number of people, again, have some back taxes to take care of. So the IRS, they're not waiting. The IRS is enforcing collections through wage garnishments, bank levies, property seizures, and they can even file for you without your consent. So this is really where Tax Network USA comes in. With more than 15 years in business, there hasn't been a tax case they haven't seen or resolved. They specialize in tax controversies and help taxpayers nationwide get back on track by resolving back taxes and unfiled returns once and for all. Whether you owe $10,000 or $10 million, their team has resolved over $1 billion in tax debt. They can do the same for you, but you have to call now. They're offering a free investigation call with the IRS, and after that investigation, they put a clear case plan in place to resolve your tax problem, get you back on track. And this is really about using your legal rights to take control before the government sets the terms for you. So don't wait for another IRS letter or a frozen bank account. Call 877-479-6503. That's 877-479-6503. Or visit tnusa.com/RSBN. There you go. We've got some great sponsors on Right Side Broadcasting Network. We have a few live interviews coming up, but let's go to, Director, can we put up the RSBN donate graphic because I want to talk about 2015, 2016, 2017, right? We saw someone that changed politics, that brought out the words fake news. I remember to this day, and if you'd like to watch on YouTube or on Rumble, when Jim Acosta with CNN would hold the microphone, I think I have one here actually. Anyway, and it was at the East Room of the White House, and President Trump was at the podium. And Jim just would not let it go. These ridiculous questions about, you called it a caravan the other day when it comes to all the people that were pouring into the country, which we saw video, we have the facts, the receipts, the evidence, all the things. And President Trump would say, sit down, you're fake news, and he would move on to the next person. I mean, all of the things that we've seen from President Trump from day one, calling out the fake news, going against the establishment, being an outsider, telling it like it is, the list goes on. I remember working in the fake news back in the day, and it was during President Trump's first administration. And I remember looking up at the screen, and I knew I was like secretly, because you know, you're in mainstream media, right? So I was like, first of all, let me tell you guys, obviously I'm a passionate person. You know, I wear my heart on my sleeve. It is what it is. But in my heart, I remember being like, yeah, Trump. I saw him on the big screens, right, on the national news. He was touring with some of the automakers back in the day. Do you remember just seeing, I don't know, it was just this whole momentum thing that we saw for our country. And it felt great to be an American. It was tough to be working in mainstream news at that time, but still, it was just awesome to see. And then on top of that, we go into 2020. We know that the COVID pandemic happens. And I remember hearing from people, oh, there's going to be a lot of mail-in ballots this year. I remember hearing that from, I won't say who, but I remember hearing that, someone in the media industry that I don't agree with. Yeah, we're going to have a lot of mail-in ballots this year. Yeah, exactly, the pandemic. And that was just scratching the surface because last night we saw President Trump talk about all of these documents and all of this evidence and receipts as to who has influenced the election anyway in 2020. So that goes to prove we have to get our elections right. We don't want to have another sign that says too big to rig. You remember all the campaign signs? We don't want to have to use the word rigged ever again, really, when it comes to our elections. So anyway, fast forward to 2024. Millions of people watching right here on Right Side Broadcasting Network as we called Georgia for President Trump. I remember Robert McNeely calling for Georgia. I called Pennsylvania. We had other colleagues here just having a great time seeing that we have someone that is on the right side of history. And last night reminded me of just a bit of 2020, of course, because he was talking all about it. And so that's what this is about, really. We need to get the Save America Act passed. We're looking forward to seeing some momentum happen. And so I wanted to just show you just on the right side of the screen. You remember Trump Force One and all those flyovers and all the rallies and all the things and all the people we spoke to, as you see right there, you know, out of love for our country. So if you'd like to donate to the Right Side, just go to rsbnetwork.com/donate as we continue to grow and expand here, cover all sorts of news, the 24/7 news cycle. I know there's a lot of other stories out there outside of the election integrity news, including the wildfires are going wild out there. But it's really hard to not talk about the election integrity thing because of the fact that the media showed their hand once again. The Drudge Report, nothing really big on it. Usually that's a big front center thing. Some of the networks not even airing it. As I said last night, they aired the Celebrity Family Feud on one of the networks. Hey, it's a good show. I actually haven't seen the celebrity one, but I like Family Feud. All right, anyway, so let's do this. All right, we have some live interviews coming up. I think in about 5 minutes from now. Director, do we have a sponsor that we should go to at this point? Okay, cool. All right, so let's do this. Let's go to clip number, I believe we have clip number 2. Do we have a clip number 2? Actually, yeah, that's just the DHS document. Okay, so we already went over that. Let's take a quick commercial break. I'll look at some news headlines. We'll be right back here on RSBN.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live. Look, don't forget to watch my show right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's imperative that you do so, okay? Bye-bye.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
MyPillow's second annual mega sale is finally here. Get our patented premium MyPillows that adjust your exact individual needs to give you the best sleep of your life.
When I got my pillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
I guarantee they're going to be the most comfortable pillows you'll ever own. King size only $24.98, queen size only $19.98. Giza Dream bed sheets, the best sheets in history, as low as $29.98. Lux Pierce 6-piece towel sets, towels that actually dry you. What a concept. Now only $39.98. And our made in the USA mattresses and mattress toppers as low as $99.98. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to take advantage of our second annual mega sale. Plus free shipping options available when you order today. So don't delay, order now.
Welcome back to Right Side Broadcasting Network. As of right this second, there are no major breaking stories that are happening that I have seen at this time at 11:58. I'm talking about, sudden breaking news. Outside of that, obviously, the top news headline is from last night, President Trump's primetime address. Obviously, we covered that in full last night, and we're still covering it today as the DHS press conference just wrapped up. So if you'd like, say you're just joining us today and you didn't watch last night and you didn't watch today's coverage, you have a little bit of replay coverage to watch if you'd like. Let's do this. Let's go to the fact that we have a number of primary elections coming up. I'm going to go over a few of those dates here before we wrap our broadcast on this Friday, July 17th. Once again, here are the remaining primary election days leading up to that November 3rd election. So on July 21st, so next week, Arizona has its primary election. On July 28th, a runoff election in South Dakota. August 4th, Kansas, Michigan, Missouri, Virginia, Washington. On August 6th, Tennessee. August 8th is Hawaii. August 11th, the state of Alabama has a few U.S. House districts, 1, 2, 6, and 7 only. Most other Alabama races were already taken care of on May 19th, including the great Tommy Tuberville running for governor of this state. Also on August 11th, Connecticut, Minnesota, Vermont, and Wisconsin will have primary elections. August 18th is Alaska, Florida, and Wyoming. August 25th, there's a runoff in Oklahoma. And in September, there are 4 dates, and each date has one state. So September 1st, Massachusetts has its primary election. September 8th is New Hampshire. September 9th, Rhode Island. September 15th, Delaware. Also, again, on September 9th and 10th, the RNC hosts a midterm national convention in Dallas, Texas. This, as we are less than 4 months from the midterm election, which will be held on November 3rd. This all brought to you by, as we get to the top of the hour, high noon here on Friday. Let's go to mypillow.com/RSBN. We saw Mike Lindell on that commercial just a second ago, and Minnesota has on August 11th its primary election, and of course President Trump endorsing Mike Lindell as governor there. So ideally, hopefully, prayerfully, and hard-workingly, it's not a word, but it's all good, Mike is the governor. That'd be great to see in Minnesota. Outside of that, mypillow.com/RSBN, some great products there, as you guys know. And if you don't know, give a few products a try, whether it's the pillows, the sheets, the coffee, all sorts of stuff. Towels, check it all out. mypillow.com/RSBN. And if you'd like to donate, once again, to the network, all you have to do is go to rsbnetwork.com/donate, rsbnetwork.com/donate. For all of us at Right Side Broadcasting Network, thanks so much for joining us, and thanks for watching last night. And there are people still watching today on replay. The numbers, of course, huge, because when it comes to elections, when it comes to President Trump, when it comes to national addresses, people chose Right Side Broadcasting Network and a few others out there. Great to see that. But at least we didn't omit the speech like some of the major networks did. I'm Matthew Alvarez. Have a great weekend. If there's breaking news, we'll be back here at the studio here. If not, again, have a great weekend. We'll see you later.